Hi, this is the sixth part of a tutorial on creating a custom CRM application using a low-code, no-code platform, DaDaBIK. In the first part, we created an enterprise-ready custom CRM application without writing any code. In the following parts, from part 2 to part 5, we started the low-code development. We discussed how to add your custom PHP and SQL code to improve the application, for example using calculated fields and custom buttons that trigger the execution of PHP or JavaScript code. This is probably the last part of this CRM tutorial, but I'm still not completely sure about that. Maybe we'll have an additional part. And finally, I will talk about custom PHP pages. This is the hardest, let's say, way to add your custom code, but on the other side, the one that allows more customization. Basically, you have a page whose content is entirely generated by your custom code, HTML, PHP, and JavaScript. You can do whatever you want. You still have some header, and this menu, the authentication is still working. You can access some variables that the DaDaBIK environment provides to you, but all this part will be completely custom. So the idea for this part of the tutorial is to create a funnel chart. As I did last time, I first show you the resulting page and then we'll see how to build it. Okay? So I'm going to log in as Alice. Alice is a salesperson. Let's check the customers. I don't know if you remember, but in customers here we have real customers, but also potential customers, so-called leads and prospects. Each salesperson can only see their customers, so the creator for this reason is always Alice because I'm logged in as Alice. So this is the status of the customer or potential customer. What is a lead? A lead could be just a contact you have. The second step of the sale process is prospect. A prospect is someone, for example, you have already talked with, and he or she expressed interest in your product, your service. So it's more probable they become customers. And then we have real customers. You can also have additional stages. Here we only have 3. Okay, so here we have 4 people having status lead, 1 person having status prospect, and converted leads or real customers are 2. Okay. With a funnel chart, we can get visually the flow of the customers and potential customers through a sales process. So here is our funnel. 28.57% of leads become customers. We have 7 people, you remember, including all the status. If we assume all those people go through this sales process, 2 of them became customers, that is 28.75%. So 42.86% of the leads became prospects and 28.57% became customers. Just to see if this is correctly working, let's keep this page open and let's manually change the status of 3 leads to customers. Okay, so 3 leads, for example, these 3, and I'm manually changing these to customer. Let's open the funnel again. We have a different funnel, obviously. So this part of the funnel becomes bigger, and obviously the fractions we have here are different. So this is what we want to get, exactly this page. How we can do it in DaDaBIK. So to build this chart, we will use an external JavaScript library, and we will integrate it in DaDaBIK. The library is CanvasJS, and you can find it at canvasjs.com. Why do we need to use an external library? Well, DaDaBIK allows you to to create without coding bar charts, line charts, pie charts, and donut charts. At the moment, funnel charts are not supported. So we can download and integrate in DaDaBIK an external, different JavaScript library and use it in a custom PHP page to produce a funnel chart. I downloaded a trial version that produces graphs with this watermark, because this was just a test. But if you want to use it for your commercial product, you need to buy a license. The main file we need in the CanvasJS package is this one. The file canvasjs.min.js contains everything we need. We can store it in our DaDaBIK folder, for example, if we need to use it in our DaDaBIK application, for example, in the folder custom PHP files. So this is the file, copy. This is my DaDaBIK installation, include custom PHP files, paste. You are probably wondering why, because this is not a PHP file, it's a JavaScript file. It's true, but in custom PHP files, we store our custom PHP pages and we'll create a custom PHP page to build our funnel page. So I store here also the related files, for example, any JavaScript libraries I need. Anyway, this is just a way to, proceed. You can store this file wherever you want. Next step, I create a custom PHP page and I grant permissions to admin and salespeople to view that page. Let me log in as root and edit pages. Custom pages. We have previously created a custom HTML page. Do you remember when we created the dashboard? For HTML pages, we can add For HTML pages, we can add here our custom code. All right. For PHP pages, instead, we have to create a PHP file containing the code first, and then select the file from here. So let's create the file first. I call it funnel2.php because I want to start from scratch, and then we create the custom PHP page from here. So this is the funnel2.php page I have created in the include custom PHP files folder. This is the line that should have as first line in all your custom PHP pages. Is for security reasons. You can just copy this part from the example you have in the custom PHP files folder. Now let's go back here and let's create the page. Add page. Let's call it funnel2. Enable PHP source file is funnel2. Save changes, permissions, funnel2. We want to allow admin and salespeople and sales managers, let's say. Okay. All right. So now if we go back here, we have our funnel2 page that is empty. Okay, that is expected. Now, let's navigate into the ready-to-use examples provided by CanvasJS. Examples 5, this one, funnel chart.html. Let's open the file here. Okay, this is the code, and let's see the file in action in our browser. Just double click on the file. Here we go. Here is the funnel provided, like the example of funnel provided by CanvasJS. As you can see, they have more stages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have just 3, but that's not a problem. Now let's open the code with the text editor to see it. It's fairly simple, I would say. They have a div here that will contain the funnel. They load the main JS file, canvasjs.main.js, and basically this is the main code. Okay, this is the main code. So what happens if we just try to copy and paste this code in our custom page? Let's try and see if it works. Okay, let's start from the div. So let's copy this part in our funnel2. Okay, let me close the PHP tag here, and I'll add the div and then this part. Okay, obviously I didn't copy the head, HTML and body opening and closing tags because these are already in our application. So what we need to provide is the code for this part. But the HTML tag, the head tag, the body tag are already open and closed. Okay, so let's see. Wait, before continuing, we have to change the path here. CanvasJS is not here. This was just, the example provided by CanvasJS, but considering where we stored the file, the correct path is include / custom PHP files / Okay. So let's see. All right, it's working. Obviously, this is not what we want. These are basically, fixed values. All right. So if you look into the code here, you will see that this example contains fixed data. So here, for example, you can see the number of people who reached the payment stage. Here, the number of people who reached the order received state, and so on and so forth. Obviously, what we want in our final version is that this data needs to be filled automatically by PHP using the data we have in our database and according to the user who is logged. Because in our final version, according to the salesperson who is logged, the system will build the funnel for the customers created, potential customers and customers created by that salesperson. So let's talk about the general idea first, and then we will see the code. So the general idea is to replace this fixed data with the data coming from our database, as we said. So I will create an associative array called like $data, something like that, having two keys, label and values. So, for example, let's consider this example, and our associative array will be something like $data labels 0 leads, $data values 0 1400, $data labels 1 initial communication, $data values 1 1212, and so on and so forth. 0 1 2 3 4 5. Remember that our array indexes start from 0, not from 1. Okay. This would be also very flexible, because we don't need to match the number of stages we have here. We can have a variable number of stages. In our case, it's 3. We can have 4, 5, or even more respect to the ones to the number of stages they have here, because the system will just iterate through our associative array and build the funnel according to that. And this is the function I wrote for filling this data associative array. So this is something I wrote immediately after the line you should have that we mentioned before. I called it CP get funnel data. Why we have this weird name? Any function, class, global variable name you have in your custom page must start with _CP_. You should read the documentation for additional details, but this is just a security measure to avoid conflict with other classes, function, variables used by DaDaBIK. This was the very first approach we used when custom PHP pages were introduced. Probably nowadays we could use a more elegant solution, but at the moment this is still what you should do. So get funnel data has as parameter current user, so the username of the current user. Uses as a global variable $con, that you probably remember is the connection object to the database DaDaBIK uses, and then basically executes 3 queries that allow to fill these $data arrays I mentioned before. There is code duplication here. It's not very elegant nor efficient. I could write a more compact version of this code, but I prefer to write the 3 queries differently to make everything more clear, even if I'm aware it's not very elegant. Okay, so basically with each query we count the number of people who went through a particular stage. So let's start from the last one. The last one, this one, we only want to select the number of people having status customer, so the real customers. And the query is very simple. Select count as total customers from customers where creator equal to placeholder column creator, and as usual we use a prepare statement here, so we replace creator with current user, the username of the current user, so we select only the customer created by the current sale person, the one that is who is logged in at the moment, and status equal to customer. Okay, only the customer. Then we fill the $data array, labels, adding an additional element is customer, and values we add an additional element and is total customer. So this counter, let's say. I copied this from another piece of code. I'm just realizing that this is not useful. We don't go to, we don't need to iterate through the record set, because we'll only get one record. We actually get just one number. Select count as total customers, so it will be something like 5, 7, 10. So we only have to fetch once. So the loop, the while loop is not useful. The same for the other two queries, and also this is not useful. Okay, with the previous queries we do basically the same, but for prospects we include customers, okay, and prospects. How many people went through the prospect stage? All the people who are at the prospect stage right now, but also the people who are customers, because previously they were prospects. And what about leads? What about leads? For leads, I mean, we don't set any additional filter here, because everybody went through the leads stage. So, well, you can add and status equal to leads, or lead, or status equal to prospect, or status equal to customer, but it's completely useless. You can just remove this part of the filter here. Okay, so we have created our $data array, and we return, this function returns $data. Outside of the function, we call the function itself, cp get funnel data, passing as a parameter current user, that is a global variable, and we put the result, we store the result in cp data. Cp again, because it's a global variable here, so we need to add the cp prefix. All right, now we can just use this array here. Do you remember what we had here? Let me so let me paste it back here, what we had before. Do you remember? So for each stage we have a label and a value. All right, so instead of having fixed value, we use PHP. So we open and close PHP here with the PHP tag, and using a for each statement, we go through the cp data labels array, and for each element we write a row. So for each element we write something like this, or this, or this. Okay, so for each element we open the bracket here, and then y column, and then here we specify the value, and here we specify the label. Let me change the name of the variable here because it's a bit confusing, because we have value that refers to two different things. So when we iterate through CP data labels, we have CP label, that is the actual label, like leads, prospect, and customers. So label, column, CP label. What about the data, the value, the number of people who go through that stage? We can access that using CP data values, so not labels but values, using the current key. When we use for each, we iterate through an array, and for each element of the array we get the key. In this case is an index 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth, and the value of the element. If you know PHP, I think this is fairly easy to understand. If you don't know PHP, maybe it's a bit confusing. You should look into the PHP manual and see how for each works. And by the way, maybe you used in the past a similar approach with other languages, so probably it's not something new. So let me summarize what we have done so far. We created a custom PHP page, an empty one. Then we copy and pasted the content of a CanvasJS example exactly as it was, and we also copied in our custom PHP file folder the CanvasJS library, so the .js file. That was the first version of our custom page. Of course, we needed to grant permissions to the groups we want to allow to see the page. That first version worked. I mean, we could see the funnel, but it was based on fixed data, the data provided by the CanvasJS example. So it was completely useless for our application. So the last thing we did was we added some PHP code used to retrieve the data from our database, how many people went through the leads stage, how many people went through the prospect stage, and so on and so forth. We built a $data associative array containing labels and number of people for each label, and we used that array here. Instead of writing fixed data, we write the data according to what we have in our database. All right, so let's see if it works. Funnel 2, and it works. All right, we have 3 stages. We can compare with funnel 1 that was already built basically. So customers were 71.43%, exactly as here. Okay, so it works. This page was slightly better. The title includes the name, the username of the current user, current salesperson, while funnel 2 has this title provided by the example, but you can easily fix that because you have the global variable $current user that you can use to print out your custom title for the page. This is just HTML, and this is the content of the current user variable that you can display using PHP. Okay, so future work. Can we improve this page? We can certainly do it. Apart from the graphic layout that we can certainly improve, the very first thing I would do, but this is future work, maybe we will do it in a new episode, in a new part, or maybe it's just something that I'm suggesting you to do and you can try to implement. I was saying, apart from the graphic layout, the very first thing I would do, this is first version, a first draft of the code, the very first thing I would do would be check before producing the funnel, check if we have data. Maybe the current user, the current logged in sale person doesn't have data yet. Okay, so doesn't make sense to create the funnel. Probably it would also get an error, a JavaScript error. So that is one thing. The second thing I would do is I would add a drop-down menu or something similar to allow a sales manager, for example, to see the funnel for each sale person. So I select Alice, I get Alice's funnel. I select Bob, I get Bob's funnel, and so on and so forth. This is something you can do quite easily. I mean, you have to add this drop-down menu in your page, and then when you bind here in the queries, you don't have to use current user for creator, but you have to use the current value of that drop-down menu. Okay, that's the general idea. If you have other ideas for other suggestions for improvement of this page, you can just leave a comment here, and maybe we can again add an additional part to the tutorial where we will improve this funnel page. All right, but for today that's it basically. So see you next time. Ciao.